Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Briddell Families Foundation's Meet the Author. Today we have a special guest, Miss Lakeysha Sowunmi. I pray I said that last name correctly. Who will be joining us? Lakeysha is the author of Apple Leaves. Good morning, Lakeysha.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. It's good to be here today.
Thank you so very much for joining us. So today is our very first Meet the Author session hosted by the Briddell Family Foundation, and you are our special guest. So again, we do thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started as an author?
Yes, so I currently reside in California. I'm originally from Illinois, a small little town right outside of Chicago. And I actually got to California by way of the Navy. So I spent some time in the Navy. And so now I call California my home. Being an author, I love writing. As far back as I can remember, writing and reading has always been my thing. It was my favorite subject. You know, when I was happy, I wrote. When I was sad, I wrote. I did a lot of journaling. I had a lot of diaries, which my mom, she probably still has all those diaries at the house. And so writing for me has really been a way for me to express myself, for me to actually put my thoughts on paper and my ideas on paper. And it's really been a good outlet for me to just talk to people about what's on my mind.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So today you're spotlighting Apple Leaves. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so Apple Leaves is kind of a funny story. As I mentioned before, I spent time in the Navy, and being in the military, if you guys are aware of that, you spend a lot of time away from your family sometimes. And I remember the first time I had to go out to sea. So I went out to sea, and it was at times it was really boring. A lot of people, once we stopped in different places, they would go out to the clubs, they would go out to different places, and I just wasn't into that. And so I just remember as a child, just writing. And so I started writing. So I was out to sea for about 7 months. I spent a lot of time writing. I used my imagination. I am, Walt Disney, he said it best about just using your imagination. And when you stop using your imagination, I feel like that's when, you don't have energy and, you don't have those thoughts that'll really make you want to create and innovate and things like that. So for 7 months I wrote every day, and that's how Apple Leaves was birthed. It was through we call it a West Pack in the Navy. So I wrote it during the a West Pack. There wasn't really I know that I had a theme to the book, but there wasn't really anything. To me, it wasn't anything special to it. I was just, again, using what was in my head, and I created a character that I feel like young kids could probably relate to, and I just wanted to be able to not only write about this character, but I also wanted to provide a lesson. What's the lesson that this character is going to portray for kids to really pick up on that, and they could really learn something. So it's funny, it's thoughtful, and at times it's something that you could really think about.
Okay, so Sky. Sky is the main character of Apple Leaves. Is Sky you?
No, people always ask me that. She's not me, but in a way, I created her because I wanted a character that every young girl and boy could relate to. So her story was basically a story of faith and a story of patience. I spent a lot of time after I wrote the book. I spent a lot of time in the classroom because I would volunteer for my kids' school. And these kids, they were so impatient with the teacher. And so I was there trying to calm the kids down, trying to talk to the teacher, trying to get the lesson done, trying to do this and that. And so I thought to myself, you know what? if my book could focus on patience, could focus on a virtue, I feel like kids could really resonate with that, and they could learn how to be patient, not only in the classroom, but with their parents. As a mother, I know I appreciate when my kids are patient with me, but as a mother, when they're out in the community, when they're out in the grocery store, right? How many times have you seen children just in the grocery store, like, give me this, give me that? And it's because they may not have that patience. And so Sky was created for that girl or that boy that really wants to learn how to be patient.
Apple leaves. So, without giving away a lot of what the story is about, she finds a leaf that looks like an apple. Where did that come from? Like, how did you even think of a leaf looking like an apple?
Yes. So I could, although Sky does not represent me, I think about when I was young, when I was 8 or 9 years old. I remember we lived in this house. It was in the back, far away from the street, and we had this huge yard. I mean, it was huge. And the driveway was long also. And I remember because in the Windy City it's always snowing, and we actually have four seasons there. We don't have four seasons here in California, but we have four seasons back there. So when it was snowing, we shoveled. When it was fall, we raked the leaves. And so I remember a time, well, actually during fall, my mom, she would make us go out there and rake the leaves. And it was, I can't even explain to you guys how big this yard was. Like, we would take half the day just raking leaves. And, at 8 or 9, you're just like, man, I just want to be over this, whatever. And so I remember just those times of just raking the leaves. And I thought to myself, what if I created a character where she had to do the same thing? And during that, she created some type of adventure. She found a leaf that was in the shape of an apple. And so that was one of the ways that I kind of really brought life to that story, because I remember when we had to rake leaves, and no, it was not an adventure. Sometimes my brother and I, we would dive in the leaves, but that was about it. But Sky, she actually discovered a leaf in the shape of an apple, and that made her feel special. That made her feel like she stood out from everybody else. And so to me, that was a great point to just kind of highlight, hey, you can find adventure in anything that you do.
Awesome. So I just want to rewind back a little bit, because when you first started talking, you were talking about families. And for me, families are important for, I think, for our children to see, and especially for our young Black children, children of color, our BOPIC audience. So when in the book, I love the fact that there's a strong family nucleus, and you talked about patience, and you talked about the parents teaching the values. And Sky's father is really patient with her, and he takes the time to talk to her and hear her opinion. How important was it, or was that even a thought when you were writing the book, to show strong Black families, a strong nucleus family, and black love, just the mother, the father, the children all being together? How important was that for you?
Kwanzaa, that was really important for me. I think anytime an author has the opportunity to tell a story, we get to control the narrative. And you know, praise be to God. I've been married to my husband for 20 years. We have three beautiful children, and so in a sense, that was my story. I could relate to seeing my husband as a strong male figure in my family and encouraging the kids, not only, just one child, but he encourages the kids all the time. He tells them they can make it. He tells them the sky is the limit. They could do whatever they put their mind to. And so, although I'm not able to relate to other situations, I could relate to that story. And I feel like, as an author, I have that opportunity to share that narrative, to show like, hey, we are married. We've been married for a long time. We have children. We have college students. And so that was really important to me. And sometimes I feel like when I'm not only myself, but another Black author, when they're able to share that type of narrative, many other kids could read the book like, oh yeah, that's my story too. So this is normal to me. So I definitely want to normalize the fact that, a lot of Black families, they are raised in two-parent homes, and there's wealth and there's success and there's great stories and there's successful stories, and not everything that you read in the media. So that was a really, really touching point for me, and it kind of makes me emotional to think about it. But yeah, I love that type of narrative, and I feel like, again, as an author, I get to choose that narrative.
Awesome. So, to our young readers who may one day grow to be authors, what is a message that you would give to them?
Ooh, I like that question. So, again, me growing up, I feel like, writing and reading, that was my thing. When I was growing up, I remember teachers, they didn't push that. If they saw the potential, the school I went to, they didn't see that potential of that student. And if they did, they didn't talk about it. So for me, I had to continue to write. I had to continue to read, regardless if I received acknowledgement, like, hey, Lakeysha, someday I think you'll be a great writer, or someday I think you could actually be an author. For me, I just had to continue to write. So if you love to write every day. Use whatever is on your mind. Please use your imagination. Again, apple leaves, um, it sounds crazy. Like, what is an apple leaf? But all I did was use my imagination and continue to, reach the stars by just kind of being who you are. I feel like all of us, especially as children, we have something on our heart that we want to share with the world, or we have thoughts that we may not have seen before, but it's up to us to kind of create that so other people could also share that vision with us. I keep going back to Walt Disney because there's a lot of books, a lot of movies that has come from that company. And I feel like, imagine if, I don't know, Larry, or imagine if Susanna never took the time to write that story. What if they never took the time to actually put on paper what was in their mind? And so that's how I view myself. And that's how, when I go around to schools, well, pre-pandemic, and I used to read my book and I talk to the kids, I'm like, hey, do what you are passionate about, do what's on your heart, because one day someone is going to read that, they're going to be encouraged. One day somebody's going to see that and they're going to say, oh, I can do that also. And that was another part of the reason why I wrote this story as well, because I wanted to bring a character that looked like me, that talked like me, and that did activities that I also did. And so that was also important to me.
Awesome, awesome. I love that response because it just made me think that, when our opening credits, and something that we believe is that the best adventures in a book, in life, begin in the mind. So when you talk about using your imagination to reach whatever your goal is, to become whatever it is you desire in life, to write a book or to write many books, that adventure begins in your mind and with your imagination. So I really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
So one thing that I like, and you mentioned it, you said that growing up you had journals, and in the book, Sky had her own personal journal. And then when she got to school, the teacher gave them all a journal to write in. And as you said, just putting your things down on paper, and bringing yourself to life and your thoughts to life. So I love that. I've not personally gotten into journaling yet. I'm working on it. But how important is it to you when you're talking to your children? You did mention you have children. As far as reading, our campaign is reading is fun, Demento. How important is that to you and getting that out to not just your biological children, but the children that you interact with when it comes to the schools and things of that nature that you travel with?
Oh, good
Yes,
question. Good
yes,
question.
excellent. Thank you. So, first and foremost, it starts at home. It is the heart of how everything is created. It starts right here at home. When my kids were growing up, so I do have an adult child, a high schooler, and now a middle schooler. They were taught in school to read at least 20 minutes a day. And so, what that translated in my mind is that they need to read more than that, because if they're reading, the basic amount of time, I want them to reach beyond that. Okay. So, I was able to instill that in them, the importance of not only reading, but then it comes the comprehension, and you talk back to me, let me make sure that you understand what you read, because I'm not into you just reading a book and put it down like, whew, I'm done, mom, now I can run off to go outside or whatever. No, that's not what we're doing. So I feel like at a young age, as a parent, my husband and I, although we would come home from work just tired, and after dinner, after we've done homework with them, we would sit down and read with them. And not only read with them, but just talk back to them, and just to make sure that they understood. Right now, I can happily say that my college student, he has exceeded my expectations. My high school daughter, she is actually into creative writing, and she has her diary, she has her journal. So I know that the things that we instilled in them, it actually stuck. My youngest, I can't even brag on him enough. Like, he will read, so he's 12, and he will just take chapter books and just go through them like in months. I can't tell you guys how much money we've spent at Barnes and Nobles since the pandemic, just buying books and buying books. He's into it. And, I've learned that because they read so much, they are thinkers. They think about things. They know how to articulate. They speak well and things like that. So I'm happy about that. As far as the community, of course, before the pandemic, I was going around to different schools, volunteering, sharing my book. And that's the same message that I share with them. Like, hey guys, I know that you're reading at least 20 minutes, but I know that you could do more if you want to, right? And I'm always encouraging them to pick books that they want to read, not just picking a book for the sake of it, but actually getting books that they really like, that they could use their imagination to think of a journey or an adventure. And so it starts at home, but I'm also passionate about talking about it outside of these four walls.
Amazing. So, as Shakora mentioned, our platform is called Reading is Fundamental, and Reading is Fundamental is our ongoing program to promote literacy and encourage reading to the youth. And we want to use it as a way to ignite a passion for reading and encourage it as a fun activity. So I enjoy hearing that all of your children are reading. And then when you said how much money you spend on Barnes and Noble, it made me think about last night as we're driving. My sister, oh my Jesus, my daughter. I was talking to my sister on the phone when it happened. My daughter's like, what's the password to the family Amazon? And I'm like, well, we don't have a family Amazon. You mean my account? And she was like, yeah. Why do you need my account? Because the book that I like that I've been following they're about to release a new series in paperback and I got to buy it. And I'm like, okay. But when you use the family account, can you use your credit card to buy it? But it made me happy because, we encourage reading, and I use the Kindle or a computer or a tablet or a book, a paperback, whatever I can find. She does not like to read digitally. She wants a physical book in her hand all the time. So she was like, listen, this book is about to be, purchase. Can I get it? So I echo your thoughts that it starts in the home, and like we said, our purpose is to let the kids see that reading is a fun activity, and when they can see mom reading and dad reading and your aunt and your uncle and other friends, it lets them say, oh, okay. And and there's all types of books. Everything doesn't have to be fictional. Right. And everything doesn't have to be nonfiction. I believe that you can get something from, and I think that it's always best to have an open mind. So in reading, so how did you introduce different types of books to your children?
Yeah, I feel like they all have their own taste. And as you mentioned earlier, my husband and I, we're also readers. So it's not like we're telling them to do something and we're not doing it ourselves. And so I feel like they're all at different levels of reading as far as like different genres. My oldest son, he's really into history. So he'll pick up a historical book or a book that highlights somebody's life or something like that. My daughter, she's into like really adventurous books where you think of someone going to Greece and they started their life over and things like that. So she's really into that. And my youngest, he reads pretty much everything. Again, I stay impressed with him because I'm like, what's this? Just last weekend we were at an old bookstore. He looked up like bookstores online and he was like, oh, let's go to this bookstore because it was like used books. And so I feel like they all have their different tastes of genres that they enjoy. And so that's good that they can mix it up. But at the end of the day, I always tell them, make sure you are reading something that you enjoy and not just something that I push on you or, that your school pushes on you. Now, if your school is telling you to read a book, you need to do that. But at the same time, you have, we call our junk book, where it's just kind of just really maybe like a short book and really not a thing to it. So he can have that. And then he has a serious book where it requires him to, maybe take notes or really talk about what he's read.
Awesome. So I want to take a quick pause because again, the Meet the Author platform that we're doing, and we're so grateful to have you here. Number one, because you're all the way on the West Coast, so thank you for getting up early again.
Yeah.
But we're encouraging the reading, and we are partnered with 3 elementary schools. So I just want to give a quick shout out to AJ Lewis Greenview down in Columbia, South Carolina. I want to give a shout out to the students at Buckingham Elementary in Berlin, Maryland, and a shout out to the students at West Salisbury Elementary in Salisbury, Maryland. So between these 3 schools, there are about 1,176 children who have seen your flyer, who know that you're going to be on. And I don't know whether or not they're all tuning in right now because it is kind of early on a Saturday. It's early on a Saturday in their minds. In our minds, we've already been up and moving. So some of them have joined us on this live right here. And others will actually see the replay and their teachers will be showing it. So I just want to give a minute to any of the viewers that are on here, any of the children. Remember, we said that if you come on the live and hang out with us and hang out with Miss Lakeysha, we had some prizes for you. So take a moment, get your parents to help you if you need to. Put your name in the comments right now. If you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook, drop your name in the comments so that we know you were here and we'll put your name in the drawing for one of those prizes. And of course, one of the prizes is going to be the book Apple Leaves that Miss Lakeysha has written just for your enjoyment. So we'll give them a second to do that. We'll do that drawing with the schools later. And again, shout out to all of our elementary schools. Shout out to all of the teachers and the principals at that school, at those schools. And thank you for allowing your children to be a part of us. So what they're doing, Lakeysha, is they are presenting part of the readathon.
Mm-hmm.
With that readathon, as you said, your children were asked to read 20 minutes a day. So our students are being asked to read 30 minutes a day for the 31 days. And they have been doing a great job at that. And we continue to encourage them to read. So give our students a word of encouragement.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. So, first of all, congratulations for participating in the challenge. I want you to know, as an adult, if you start reading now, there's a quote that says, readers lead. As you start reading now, when you get older, you're going to be able to go before thousands, or you're going to be able to do what you love to do at your fullest potential because you started reading at the age that you are now. Nobody could take that away from you. Nobody could say, oh, that's all right. No, that is the most powerful thing you could do is read. Continue to read. And if you like to write as well, because that's also going to help you as an adult. So I encourage you to continue to go far with the challenge. If you do over 30 minutes, that is excellent. But I want to just congratulate you guys and keep going because readers lead. Remember, readers lead.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Readers do lead. And I just want to share with you and any of our other viewers today, our students have read over 10,652 minutes since March 1st. So shout out to all of them and congratulations to them. So do we have, again, I want to take a small pause and let you know if you're watching the live, drop your questions. If you have any questions for Miss Lakeysha, drop your questions in.
And while we are waiting for the students and our viewers to drop their questions, Lakeysha, I would like to just go back to you just for a little bit. Looking at Apple Leaves and on the back, one of the things that I really love is it says that your passion is motivating and uplifting children, and that you're dedicating your time to doing this. But it also talks about how you're big on getting physically fit. Reading helps us get our minds in shape, if you will. How can we also, with our children, get them to be more physically active and physically fit? I know when I was growing up, we would go outside and play.
Yes.
Until the street lights came on, and then you knew it was time to come in the house. Where today's kids, they're sitting in the house and they're doing a lot on the TVs and on the video games and things of that nature. How important is being physically fit to you in addition to keeping your mind in shape?
Absolutely. And Shakura, I will echo what you said about being on the streets late at night. We would race each other. We would go to the park. And we didn't want to go home, okay? Because we were outside having fun. And although it was just like some heavy physical activity, we were tired and stuff like that. But I feel like we are definitely living in a different time. I share with people that, when I was growing up, I knew my neighbor next door. I knew who lived across the street. I knew people that lived on our whole block. And in our society today, we may not even talk to our neighbor. We don't know who's across the street. All we know is we're busy. We got to go to work. We got to do this. We have to do that. And so the first thing that I would definitely say is that as parents, although everything is going so fast, if because I know a lot of people just for safety purposes, they don't trust, maybe they don't trust the neighbor, maybe they don't trust who's on their block, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, as a parent, you are your child's first role model. What we have established here is that if I'm going out to ride a bike, my children, they're coming out with me. If I'm going out to take a run, my kids are coming out with me. If I'm going to take a hike, guess who's coming out with me? My children. This has been instilled in them. So I will definitely say in the beginning, it was like, oh, this is crazy. This sucks and this is crazy. I don't want to. But as time went on, they got used to that routine. And so they were in organized sports. And then on the weekends, we would do our family thing together. We still do that. Every Sunday, we go out for a walk. We go skating. We go bike riding. We continue to do that. I think because here in California, our kids are still learning via the internet. So they're still e-learning. Right now is so important because the kids they're in the house now. They're not even going out to school anymore. So right now is the best time to really establish that. Even as a parent, if that's not established, it's not too late. Right now is a good time to establish that. Like, hey, during your lunch break, we're going to go out. We're just going to take a walk. All right, mom, cool. Let's do that. Okay. And after school is over, perhaps we'll take a bike ride, or we can do like some jumping jacks or something in our living room. I think that that's important because as our kids are learning, sometimes people downplay the fact that maybe they're stressed out with the whole pandemic. This has really created a new lifestyle for not only adults, but our children as well. So physical activity releases those endorphins and that really kind of get their blood flowing and really get them excited again. So if my son, my 12-year-old, if he's having a hard time focusing on his work, I'm like, all right, come on, let's go take a little break. We go in the living room, he do some push-ups, he can do jumping jacks, or sometimes I just make him go outside and walk the block. He comes back in, he has a different attitude. That is not easy for me to even stop what I'm doing to do that, but it's worth it. It's good for his health. So physical activity I will always intertwine that with education and physical activity because to me they're linked together.
Definitely agree with that. And I'm glad that you brought that out as far as how those endorphins, when they get in that physical activity, it helps to open up their mind. So physical activity and reading are both something that we need in our everyday lives, not just the children, but the adults as well. So thank you so very much for that. Tell us, Lakeysha, how can for those who do not win a copy of Apple Leaves, how can someone purchase Apple Leaves?
Yes. So Apple Leaves can be purchased on Amazon. If you go to Amazon.com, you could type Apple Leaves in the search bar and it will pop up for you. You could also visit my website, LakeyshaShowunmi.com. If you want a signed copy, just leave a message there and I will sign your book and I'll send it to you. So you can go to Amazon and you can also visit my website, LakeyshaShowunmi.com for a signed copy.
Awesome. So what do you have to say to our readers? Well, actually, do you have any other books? Let me ask you that first.
Yes. So Apple Leaves was my very first book, but I turned it into a series. So I also have Apple Leaves 2. And that Apple Leaves 2 it really hit home for me. I put some it's a very exciting story. So if you guys want me to come back, I could bring Apple Leaves 2. So currently I have 2 books, Apple Leaves, the first book, and I have Apple Leaves 2, Sky Summer Vacation. And it's a great story. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Thank you. So just to reiterate, you said that we could find your books and we could request an autographed copy at LakeyshaShowunmi.com.
Yes.
Thank you. We so appreciate having you here, and we definitely will bring you back to talk about Apple Leaves 2 and to share with us. We were reading your book, of course, in preparation for you coming today, and we have nieces and nephews. Our father calls them the 12 disciples. Of course, there's 12 of them. Some of them, what are their ages? They've ranged from age 3 to 28.
Wow.
He'll be 28 in October. So they do range in age, and I don't know what just happened. They do range in age, and they are reading the book along with us as well. So
Yeah.
sharing that.
That's awesome.
From one of our viewers, and it says, what is the hardest part, or what was or is the hardest part of becoming?
What is the hardest part of becoming a publisher?
Yes. So let me just say this. I'm a visionary, and I think, I start my task and then I think long term as far as, okay, I start here and then when I get there, this is what's going to happen. But sometimes when we think far ahead like that, sometimes we could get a little overwhelmed and start to overthink. And so with Apple Leaves, I try not to think think that far ahead because I knew that it would slow my momentum down. I knew it would slow me down because I would just constantly think like, how am I going to get it published? Who am I going to go with? Should I get an agent? Should I self-publish? So I am self-published, and basically what that means is that I control all of my work. And I have the power to I have the power to order my books. I can do what I want to in my book, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm self-published. If I had an agent, there's more work to that, and there's more things that are out of my control. And so I took this self-publishing route. And to be honest with you, it was not hard at all. And going through those steps and just kind of being patient with the process. It is a lot of back and forth, but you know what, if you want great work, it takes time to actually get the perfect book out. So no, it wasn't hard, but there is a process, and it just takes time. So it took me probably about 6 months to actually get through the process. However, it could take you a shorter amount of time than that.
Awesome. And back to your family. How was your family during that time? So did you look at things that I know you mentioned in the beginning, growing up and how you used to rake leaves with your brother and use those adventures. But being a wife and a mother, and a woman of, her own great right and all the things that you're doing, how did you find the time to balance family and reading and work and writing?
Yeah. Well, as my husband say, he always tells me that there's no such thing as balance. And so what I learned about that is there are a lot of sacrifices that I have to make. And those sacrifices help me create great work. It helps me in my creative time, and when I innovate and when I think of new things, it helps me do that. So part of that is I'm an early bird. So waking up really early, a lot of people, that may be a challenge for them. But then you have some people that may be night owls. So maybe you are the type of person that will stay up until, you're burning the midnight oil. So maybe that's a sacrifice for you. So getting up early, I have set boundaries, and I didn't learn how to do that until I was really walking in my purpose, until I was really doing my life's work, and until I was really getting serious and focusing on what I felt that I was called to do. So setting boundaries that may look like between 2 and 4, I'm not checking emails. I'm not calling. I'm not accepting phone calls at that time. But, at a later time, I could do that. It may mean saying no to, going out to drink coffee or have dinner with my friend. It's a lot of things that comes with that. And I feel like over time, with me sacrificing getting up early in the morning and also creating those boundaries, that's really helped me. And I feel like if I didn't have that system in place for myself, I couldn't write books. I couldn't do other things that I'm working on. And a lot of people, they may feel bad about doing that. But when you're a creator, when you have a vision, it takes that. And some people may say, well, it doesn't take all that. I guarantee you it takes all that. Ask other authors. They will tell you the same thing. I work on it, right? I work on the weekends, or I'm waking up early. I'm eating lunch at my desk because maybe I'm, writing something. And so it just takes some sacrifices and creating those boundaries to really create that balance.
Lakeysha, again, I want to, just thank you for joining us today for the Meet the Authors. To our students who have joined in today, please, please, please remember what Lakeysha said. Reading is fundamental, and it's so important that we bring reading back into our lives. If you have not given us your name so that you can be put into the drawing, please make sure that you do so. so that way we can make sure that we are able to give away a copy of Apple Leaves. And again, if for some reason you are not selected to win a copy of Apple Leaves, you still have an opportunity to get that yourself. One more question I did just see pop up in the chat. Miss Amber, who is joining us today, wants to ask if writing books is fun for you.
Absolutely. I didn't is very fun for me. I didn't feel like when I started writing, I didn't feel like, oh, I have to do this or this is a job. No, it was something within me that I felt like I had to get it out. And so with that, when you're creating your own work and you feel like, oh man, I did that, that makes you feel good. So to me, that goes beyond a feeling of like, oh, I'm happy, I have joy about this. It makes me feel like I'm doing what I was created for, right? I'm doing what I was put on this earth to do. That's what I feel like. So it's, to me, it's much more than just like a feeling of, oh, this is nice, but it's the feeling of, man, I'm actually doing what God put in me to do. And so it's never been like a job to me, but it's always like, man, I need to get this out. So that's a good question.
Awesome. So not only is reading fun, but writing is also fun as well. So
Yeah.
again, thank you for joining us today. If you missed it, you can get her book Apple Leaves and her other works as well on Amazon, as well on her website at lakeysha.com. Again, Lakeysha, we thank you so very much. If you have not, make sure that you check out Apple Leaves. And remember, always, always, always keep reading because reading is fun. Have a great day, guys. Thanks
Thank
for
you.